Let's start with how the markets performed at the close of trading day on Friday, March 24, beginning with the European stock markets. Wow. All stock exchanges appeared to close low on Friday as investors took stock of a week of central bank rate hikes and the latest news from the banking sector. The Pan-European Stock 600 index closed 1.65% lower, with nearly all sectors posting declines. It appears contagion from the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank has riled the markets. London closed at an all-share index of 7,385.4, down by 1.52%. The markets in Germany were also down, closing by 2.09%, while the CAC 40 in Paris ended the week at 6,996.2, closing with a loss of 2%. And finally, IBEX 35 in Spain closed down 2.39% with an all-share index of 8,755.3. To the Nigerian stock markets now. At the end of the last week day of trading on the NSE, a total of 137.56 million shares in 2,912 deals, which correspond to a market value of 3.87 billion naira, were traded. The Nigeria Stock Exchange currently has a market capitalization of 29.9 trillion naira. And finally, let's have a look at Wall Street as at Friday, March 24. Let's now take you to some of our top stories from the week just gone. The Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday raised the monetary policy rate, which measures interest rates, from 17.5% to 18%. Just last week, inflation rates rose to 21.9% as Nigeria's cash crunch persisted. This is the second time the CBN will be raising the benchmark rate this year by 50 basis points, while retaining other parameters like the cash reserve ratio at 32.5% and liquidity ratio at 30%. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele made the announcement on Tuesday. Now, Switzerland's biggest bank, UBS, has agreed to buy its ailing rival Credit Suisse in an emergency rescue deal aimed at stemming financial market panic unleashed by the failure of two American banks earlier this month. In a statement on Sunday, March 19, the Swiss National Bank said the rescue would secure financial stability and protect the Swiss economy. UBS is paying $3.25 billion for Credit Suisse, about 60% less than the bank was worth when markets closed the previous Friday. Credit Suisse shareholders will be largely wiped out, receiving the equivalent of just 0.76 Swiss francs in UBS shares for stock that was worth 1.86 Swiss franc just a week earlier. Owners of $17 billion worth of additional Tier 1 bonds, a riskier asset class of bank debt, will lose everything, Swiss regulators said. The emergency takeover was agreed to after days of frantic negotiations involving financial regulators in Switzerland, the US and the UK. UBS and Credit Suisse rank among the 30 most important banks in the global financial system, and together they have almost $1.7 trillion in assets. Meanwhile, following the multi-billion franc state rescue, the Swiss government has suspended bonus payouts for Credit Suisse staff. Now in Kenya, content moderators of Facebook in that country are suing the parent company Meta and two outsourcing firms for unlawful redundancy. The 43 applicants claim in the suit that they were made redundant by Sama, a Kenya-based firm contracted to moderate Facebook content for organizing a union, and they were blacklisted from applying for the same roles at another outsourcing firm, Majorel, after Facebook switched contractors. Even though Meta has no official presence in the country, they can be sued by a moderator over alleged poor working conditions, as per a current court ruling. The court cases could have implications for how Meta works with content moderators globally. In Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the exemption of the telecoms sector from the proposed 5% excise duty. This is according to the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami. Pantami disclosed this on Tuesday at a news conference organized by the Presidential Review Committee on Excise Duty in Abuja. In May 2022, Buhari had approved the collection of a 5% excise duty on telephone recharge cards and vouchers. The charge was part of new items on the list of goods liable for excise duty in the country's Finance Act. Swedish telco and 5G maker Ericsson has pleaded guilty to 2 violations of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The company breached a 2019 deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice related to the same conduct by failing to be transparent about bribery schemes it operated in China and East Africa. The company also agreed to pay more than $206 million in criminal penalties, and it had previously paid out $520 million in penalties in the initial agreement. Ericsson's global head of litigation and disputes, Matthew Matul, entered the guilty plea on behalf of the company. The UK inflation rate jumped to 10.4% in February after a 3-month stretch in decline. According to the latest data just released by the UK Office for National Statistics, ONS, Britain's annualized consumer price index jumped to 10.4% in February against the 10.1% increase recorded in December, also missing estimates of a 9.8% dip. Meanwhile, the core CPI gauge, excluding volatile food and energy items, also increased to 6.2% year-on-year last month versus 5.8%, which was seen in January, also ahead of market expectations. In Nigeria, the House of Reps has urged the CBN, the central bank, to direct banks to immediately overhaul their electronic transaction platforms. The move has become necessary in the aftermath of the recent CBN policies, which have put pressure on online and electronic banking. A member of the House, Sergius Ogun, at the plenary on Thursday, moved a motion demanding reinforcement and upgrade of banking systems, especially those of the deposit money banks, also known as commercial banks. Also related, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele has issued an apology to Nigerians for the rise in failed electronic banking transactions. Since the implementation of the Naira redesign policy and subsequent cash shortage, Nigerians have been experiencing unsuccessful banking transactions made through their mobile apps, USSD platforms, and debit cards. Speaking on the matter, Emefiele said the CBN's Payment System Management Department made efforts to ensure that downtime on electronic banking channels were quickly resolved. He also praised fintechs for facilitating smooth transactions for Nigerians by reducing the strain on traditional banks. Nigeria's Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, has announced that the proposed national carrier, Nigeria Air, will fly before May 29 this year. Speaking in the federal capital, Abuja, on Thursday during the 10th Aviation Stakeholders Forum, the minister said that the project is 98% complete and expressed that its operations would contribute to GDP, facilitate hospitality and tourism, facilitate growth and development of the Nigerian aviation sector, and create jobs. The founder of Terraform Labs and creator of the collapsed stablecoin Terra, Do Kwon, has been arrested. The South Korean, who is allegedly behind the $40 billion crash of the Terra USD and Luna tokens, has been charged with 8 counts of fraud by the federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, including wire fraud, commodities fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy to defraud and engage in market manipulation. Prosecutors are seeking his extradition for indictment. Management consulting giant Accenture will cut 19,000 jobs worldwide. That's about 2.5% of its workforce. Accenture is the latest global management consulting firm to join a wave of downsizing amidst the economic turmoil. About 2.5% of its workforce will be laid off over the next 18 months, one of the largest rounds of dismissals in the consulting sector. The company said it expects to incur over $1.2 billion in expenses due to this exercise, and it has lowered its revenue forecast growth to between 8 to 10% in the current fiscal year, down from 8 to 11%, which it had forecasted previously. Now in West Africa, Chad's Energy and Hydrocarbons Ministry revealed that it has nationalized all of ExxonMobil's assets. This includes all the assets and rights, including hydrocarbons permits and exploration and production authorizations that belong to a subsidiary of ExxonMobil. Earlier in December, ExxonMobil said it had closed the sale of its operations in Chad and Cameroon to London-listed Savannah Energy in a $407 million deal, which was contested by the Chadian government. Exxon's assets included a 40% stake in Chad's Doba oil project and its interest in the 621-mile Chad-Cameroon pipeline to the Atlantic Gulf of Guinea coast through which it exports crude oil. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Forum, NECA, has urged the Nigeria Labour Congress to shelve a planned strike. NECA advised the NLC to commit to social dialogue and abort its planned strike against the prevailing naira scarcity in order to avoid dragging the economy into a deeper crisis. The Director General of NECA, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyeride, while acknowledging the government's disastrous implementation of the naira redesign policy, warned that the planned strike by the NLC could further drag the economy into a deeper hole, leading to rapid business closures, job losses, and other socioeconomic challenges. U.S. lawmakers grilled TikTok CEO Xu Zichu in a 4.5-hour showdown over national security concerns. Xu testified in the U.S. Congress amid growing uncertainty around the app, which has been criticized for spreading misinformation on a variety of topics like COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine. The bone of contention is that the Chinese-owned company's data mining possesses a real threat if U.S. data can be accessed by the Chinese government. A Pew Research Center survey reported that 67% of U.S. teens use this app out of over 150 million American users. TikTok complained afterwards that there wasn't adequate consideration for its measures to keep data safe, and a ban would adversely affect the livelihoods of the 5 million businesses on the platform.